though I have no real hard data, I'm just going to pontificate here and say 95% of all webinars are terribly produced. Now, I don't mean to rag on the content, because in most cases, to be able to talk about a subject for 30 minutes plus shows that you have achieved mastery. But what I mean is the production quality is just terrible. It usually goes something like this.
Hi, thank you for joining the webinar today. Can you see my screen?
Now, I come to you today to remedy this problem by employing a simple framework of what I like to call Hall's hierarchy of webinar needs. No psychology degree required. Okay, so bottom tier here, and perhaps most important, don't do it live. Only in select few scenarios where you would need an active Q&A would you want that live element. Now, I know doing it live may seem simple and attractive, but really you're just setting yourself up for trouble. Doing it tape delayed allows you to fix any mistakes, awkward intros, technical difficulties that may arise with streaming, and it allows you to build upon your webinar to reach actualization. Now keep in mind too, if you find your audience responds better to live meeting invites, you can always play the recorded video during a set live webinar time, and your audience member is none the wiser. Now moving up to level 2 is editing. This is where you're really going to start to see your webinar improve, and like with any levels of a hierarchy, there is a spectrum within each one. So the simplest here being learning something like iMovie and making bare minimum cuts, such as the awkward beginning of a recording where inevitably someone asks the question,
Can you see my screen?
Now, as you move farther up in this level, you're going to be able to smooth cuts, take out erroneous info, retake questions, and splice together multiple speakers, etc. This is also the time to consider moving away from Zoom. Zoom is awesome for meetings and connecting instantaneously, but from a production standpoint, there are far better platforms and methods that record audio video uncompressed. Sorry, Zoom. Moving up one more level, we hit creative, or as Grandma always said, the old razzle-dazzle. Now, first things first in this level is to address your slide design. If you're using slides, you really ought to have a designer make these slides and not just any intern, but hey, that's a whole other video. Now, once you have slides figured out, making creative choices like motion graphics, bed music, transitions, and B-roll. All of these creative choices not only reflect your brand personality better, but will give you a huge professionalism advantage over your competition, who, least I remind you, is still stuck in the
Hi, thanks for joining the webinar.
And paragraphs of text on a slide cam. Our penultimate level is hardware. You know, I love the word penultimate, just never get a chance to use it. Now, this is reserved for cameras, microphones, editing computers, proper green screening, lighting, etc. This is the point you either invest in a dedicated space and equipment budget, or plan out a shooting schedule with a videographer who will supply the equipment. I struggle a little bit ranking these because it feels on par with creative because of how much hardware affects the aesthetic and look and feel. However, if given the choice between the two, I would start with creative first. Now, the other consideration this level to make is the trade-off of how much in-house versus contracted work you want to do. Like I said, videographers like myself will show up with their own hardware, but then you're paying a contractor. Conversely, you could purchase all the best equipment for your office and not even know how to use it. So it all depends on how many webinars you need to produce and what your budget's going to be in this investment in time and money. And finally, actualization occurs when you have a webinar framework dialed in that you and your team can crank out efficiently without any loss to production value. When you hit actualization, you're going to be surprised at how many more employees are just going to be more comfortable volunteering to give webinars because of how good that end product looks, which will make creating content a breeze. Now, this is just a basic framework to help you get started making better webinars, and like with any video strategy, there's going to be tailoring for your specific needs. And now for the shameless self-promotion plug. If you have questions about achieving your own webinar actualization or just need to know where to start, let's chat. You can drop me a line at thesanhall.com and figure out what solution is going to work best for you. Here's to a better looking digital world.